everyone, Christina here. Welcome to day 17 of the holiday card series for 2018. Today's card features a scene that I created using some die cuts, and I love creating scenes like this because you can really change it up with whatever colors you like, and it just looks gorgeous and amazing no matter what you do. So these dies are from Sunny Studio. Hope you guys enjoy, and let's get into it. So when I first saw the rustic winter die set from Sunny Studio, I had this idea for today's card in my head. So it's been hanging out there for a while ever since I got this die set in the mail, and I'm super excited to show it to you guys today. I took apart the dies, not all of them, just the trees. I separated those, and then I used some white cardstock and cut all of these pieces out using my die cutting machine. I cut the trees twice, and then the animals just once. So the paper that I'm going to be putting behind all these dies, I'm going to be doing some ink blending. So I've trimmed down my paper so that it's 5.5 by 5.5, and then I'm starting out with some dried Marigold Distress Oxide ink, and I'm blending that in from one edge of this cardstock. I'm using an Easy Clean matte from Tonic to protect my work surface, and it's a slick surface, so it also really helps when you're blending in off the edge of some cardstock. The next color I'm using is Spun Sugar, and I'm bringing that in and really blending those colors together. And then the last color I'm using is Dusty Concord. I did clean up some of those colors off my work surface and then moved on to Dusty Concord. And I'm really going to try to be patient and work with this blending because it was hard to get a really smooth blend with these lighter shades, and especially because I was just starting out new foam tools for each one of these colors. And when you're first starting out with brand new foam tools or foam pads, sometimes the ink hasn't saturated the foam completely, and it's a little bit hard to get the blending going. But stick with it because it's almost like it seasons with age, and it just makes the blending so much easier the more you use your foam tools. So after I had that blended, I put my project in a box, and I'm using some silver glitter dust spray to add a coat of shimmer over this entire surface. So I'm going to spray this all the way across. I had to open a window in my office because I needed some more ventilation for this, but I sprayed that on, and then I'm going to actually set it aside to dry. It doesn't take that long to dry, just a few minutes, but I moved it to the side so that I can continue on with my card. So I'm going to be creating a square frame to go over my scene. So I'm cutting a piece of cardstock to 6 by 6, which is the final size of my card that I have planned. And I'm taking this 4" by 4" square die from Simon Says Stamp, and I'm cutting that out of the very center of my cardstock. So I'm going to set that frame aside, and I'm going to take the interior piece that I just cut out. I'm going to temporarily place that onto my blended piece just so I have an idea of where that frame will be. And then I'm mapping out where the frame is using some Post-it tape. And I'm using Post-it tape because it's low tack, and anything that has a little bit more stick to it will actually pull up some of that shimmer spray that I adhered. It can pull up if you have something really sticky. So I only wanted to use Post-it tape since it's nice and gentle, but it does kind of map out the frame of my scene. So now I've got all these die cuts, and I just placed them on there. I've positioned them where I eventually want them to be. And then I started to adhere everything. And for all the pieces that I'm adhering on dimensional adhesive, I use this really narrow adhesive from Darice. These are the narrow foam tape strips, and I just applied them, and I actually took the release paper off of both sides, and that allowed me to manipulate the foam and kind of move it around on these tree trunks. I then adhered the deer and also the other tree trunks, and then this last one I actually glued straight down onto that background with a little bit of glue so that it's nice and flat. So I've got 3 levels of foam here. Of die cuts actually. I've got the tree that's directly on that background, and then I've got 1 layer of foam and then 2 layers of foam coming up. So I've got 3 different layers. After I had everything adhered on there, I removed the Post-it tape and it didn't mar any of my blended piece, which was nice. And then I prepped my card base. So to create this 6x6 card base, I actually cut one square to 6x7 and then scored it at 3/4 of an inch. And this is going to give me a nice flap on one end to adhere these two together. So I'm going to take some, this is some tape adhesive. This is Express It tape. And I'm going to place that right along that flap. And this is going to give me a nice strong connection for the front and back of this card. So I'm putting that tape on there, and then I'll be pulling off the release paper so I can stick them together. So I'm going to take the other piece, which is actually the 6x6 piece, and I'll place that right below the fold, and then I can fold that flap down and press it down really well, and then my card base is almost done, but in order to make it the perfect 6x6 size, I'm going to trim off the excess off the one end. So now it's a perfect 6x6 card, and it should match up perfectly with the dimensions of my frame that I die cut earlier. So I'm adhering my blended piece directly to the front of my card. I've just put some of that Tombow Extreme Adhesive on the back, and I'll kind of center that right in the center of my card front. And then in order to adhere the frame over the top, I put 3 layers of foam tape. So this bumps up above the highest point of my scene, which had only 2 layers of foam. So the frame is 3 layers of foam. So I placed that on there, and then I realized I needed to put a greeting on here, and I totally have spaced it. So actually, if you're going to recreate this card, I would suggest doing this greeting and adding everything in and then adding the frame at the end. But I'm kind of backtracking here, so I'm going to prep my greeting now. I'm using a stamp from Concord and Ninth from their Very Merry Sentiment stamp set, and I'm stamping it onto some vellum using Versamark ink. This is a really itty bitty greeting, and it's going to go perfectly kind of nestled in that scene. I'm applying some silver embossing powder. This is actually sterling embossing powder from Burgess Monroe, and then I heat set that. And then I trimmed it down to a very narrow strip of vellum. And I'm going to place it over my scene so I get the length just right, and I'll trim it off. And then I adhered it kind of going in front of a tree and behind the deer. And then I ended up pulling up that sitting deer and moving it down just a little bit because it was a little too high. So that is my card. It's all finished now. You can see all that shimmer. I love the sparkle from that silver glitter dust spray. It adds just a little bit of extra to this very simple scene. I love today's card. I love how it turned out, and it looks even better in person. I wish you guys could see the shimmer on that background. It's absolutely gorgeous, and I love the white die cuts that make it look really serene and peaceful. So I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Before you go, please subscribe to this YouTube channel if you haven't already, and hit that thumbs up button so I know you liked today's video. On screen, I've got 2 more videos for you to check out. These are the day 17 videos from years past of the holiday card series. I've got 10 years of the holiday card series, so these are just the years 2017 and 2016. Thanks so much for watching, and I will catch you guys in another video very soon.